to all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom, and in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines. Selah. Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I'm sure if you're still somehow connected to the BAByLON system, you've seen everything that's happening in Canada. Martial law in Canada. The country that's like the sleepy neighbor of the divided states. We never hear from Canada, although they've committed just as many, racist crimes, let me say that. And Canada has been very good at hiding behind the cloak of, the divided states, but really being its greatest ally. So what happened, in case you've been under a rock or you've been off-grid like me doing your farming, harvesting, we're in a harvesting season right now, is Justin Trudeau. There's been these massive, the truckers, I think they're calling it the Freedom Convoy or something like that, the Freedom Convoy or the Freedom something. And it was all these truckers that decided to meet in Ottawa. And so, the convoy was massive, beloveds. They blocked literally the major borders with the divided states. And it all stemmed from the fact that the government wanted any trucker that is crossing to the divided states to have the double Big Mac. And they were just like, absolutely not. So they were basically, it started off with them, protesting against this mandate. And now it's morphed into, captured like the imagination of Canadians, the imagination of many different European countries, even Israel. And it's like lit a flame across the Mzungu world, beloveds. But this is like playbook what they've been wanting to happen. All of us were expecting the divided states to be the first country to go into martial law. So it's a bit surprising that it's Canada, which shows you that they've been unable to push that narrative in the divided states. And let me tell you, beloveds, these truckers, I think within a week they raised like $10 million, and that freaked out through crowdfunding, and that freaked out the Canadian government. So they've tried to freeze the funds, and then now they're saying that it's money laundering, etc., etc. But it shows you the People's Revolution is so powerful when people stand by a narrative, their own narrative. But beloveds, the New World Order has been waiting for a chance like this. They've been waiting for this so that they can implement the next step of the New World Order. And one of the only, commentators that I listen to in the divided states, I know you guys are going to think like, what? Tucker Carlson. I know he's crazy, but at least he's not all on that global Kool-Aid, global media, propaganda system. But he was talking about how whatever happens in Canada usually happens in the divided states. Whatever happens in the divided states will usually eventually happen in Canada. So he was trying to warn people in the divided states because, beloveds, they've been wanting to initiate global martial law. And it's like with the divided states, it didn't quite work. Because it's divided. It's so divided that you had people like they almost felt like if they went that direction, they would trigger some kind of like revolution, or there was enough separation. And so I guess Canada was it. And okay, the thing is, it's really amazing to see how this People's Revolution has kicked off. But they've been waiting for this. We have to remember, beloveds, the world is a stage. And they want to lock down nations. So if you're listening to the CNNs of this world, they'll be like, lock Canada down, martial law. And the thing about martial law, it's an emergency act that was put in 1988, beloveds. They've never used it for like 20-something years. So it's just like this thing is so premeditated, but ultimately it allows them to also eventually, if things were to get out of hand, to bring in the army. And beloveds, I must note that the protests in Canada have been peaceful. There is no reason for this. It's like Trudeau overreacted, beloveds. Like the truckers went to the capital to meet him. He freaking ran away and went and hid in his bunker and then came out of his bunker and was like, oh my God, we're going to have martial law. This is so crazy, blah, blah, blah. And we're also going to control cryptocurrency and crowdfunding platforms because there's a lot of money laundering going on there. Beloveds, the war is real. In case you guys don't recognize, the war is now on this physical level. But I feel like the world is a stage. Whenever I think of this story, I always believe like the world is a stage, beloveds. It's all about narratives. And it's like they have been waiting. The New World Order puppets have been waiting for at least to see how this. I keep saying they keep throwing all these things to see what will stick. So now they want to see, will martial law stick in Canada? Because if it does, then they're going to look at, it's like a beta test, beloveds. They're going to see how it works, what happens, and then they'll plan it. It's literally the government's against the people right now, beloveds. The New World Order agendas. And another thing, because whenever, man, there's so much I could say about this. I'm not covering news, but I just wanted to give you guys some spiritual insight. Like whenever I look at those policemen and everything and the way they're covered with their helmets and everything, beloveds, they're soon going to have robocops on the streets. Like people need to be prepared for how this is going to escalate. They've been waiting for this so that they can roll out the next step of their agenda. You think they didn't, if with putting all these unpopular mandates, you think they didn't think about the protests and the backlash? You think they didn't count that? These are chess players, beloveds. They don't play checkers. They've thought of every possible outcome and tried to counter it. Which is why, by infiltrating there's so many ways they do it. They've practiced this for decades, where any revolutionary movement, any people's movement, they'll infiltrate, the movement and try and create chaos. Because I think they were saying, the protests had been peaceful, but then all of a sudden I don't know what part of the protest, some guns and things were confiscated. How do you know those aren't implants? They'll frustrate the leaders. They'll try and take out the leaders. They'll financially try and block the leaders. I think like there was even some news agency that was literally exposing like who had donated and trying to, publicly shame them. And the thing is, beloveds, they've been feeding the populace, the majority, the sheeple on this Kool-Aid for so long. So when you hear the CNNs of this world, they're all like, yes, these people are endangering everyone, etc., etc. I was even so disappointed to hear Gravitas say that. Because in Canada, no one's mentioning, the spread of the quote unquote, pandemic. No one's talking about that. It's all about government control. And there's so much I could say about Justin Trudeau. Beloveds, you guys need to check the sons of presidents that are president right now. Because there's a book, I think it's called, is it Transformation or something? You'll see it here. And it was like the first Mzungu woman who ever talked about, MK Ultra and how the Mzungus especially were really, their children were so involved in that, in making like even child soldiers, child spies, crazy things, but also in this sex trade. And she talks about how, she had to have relations with Trudeau's father, beloveds. I mean, that book was so scarring. I think I only got through the first three chapters. But Trudeau is part of the brotherhood, beloveds. He's the son of a former president. Yeah, in Kenya, we also have the son of a former president. You think that's by accident? You think this wasn't a deal that was made like 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago? So that they would continue, that they would be sure to implement the plan? And beloveds, there's a lot of clones out there as presidents as well. But you see, we've been so like, people have been so mentally manipulated that when you say things like that, the first thing is like, nah, how? But beloveds, I really feel like what's happening in Canada, yes, the people's movement is there, but it's the first phase of them trying to implement martial law and seeing if it will work. Remember, we're in a narrative war. The New World Order, as much as they've planned this for decades, as much as they have the armies and the bombs and the guns and the police, and they need control of the narrative. And right now, there's been such an onslaught and tried backlash of the global narrative, trying to make what Canadian people just standing up for their rights, trying to make them seem like they're so out there and so, But are they? That's why, beloveds, I feel also like this is not our circus and this is not our monkeys. You know what I mean? But this is another sign that like Babylon, as they're getting ready to shut down their systems. They're getting ready to totally, this is the only way they'll be able to control their populace leading into the future. And let's not forget, Justin Trudeau, he literally just had a re-election. Less than a third, I think, of Canadians even elected him, but because of parliamentary loopholes, he was able to remain as prime minister, and now he gets to crack down. So it's almost like they wound the spoiled boy, you know what I mean? The spoiled child, so that he becomes this monster. But beloveds, what if we should have been paying attention to Canada all along? What if that's where they're going to start to implement the New World Order and see where it goes? Because we've all been, it's been all eyes on the divided states, but yo, let me know what you think in the comments below, beloveds. But I just see like this, the world is a theater and they planned for this. This is part of their theater. They're excited this is happening to see if the people are ready for like a dictatorship, a global dictatorship, beloveds. What if it all starts in Canada? That would be so crazy. Although I really believe Canada has hidden so much of the crimes they've committed against melanated people through this, oh, we're so nice, oh, we love diversity, oh. But you know, the nice sister, it was always the real monster, beloveds. I can't wait to hear what you guys have taken from this whole situation. Tuko pamoja.